that she had, and although we were told to focus on one memory, we thought it was okay to focus on a similar memories that we thought were important to include in our project.
Okay, so this is a sketch of another prototype that we had. On the top, you can see it says a siren, so it's kind of like we're trying to recreate like a peaceful setting and calm. And then at any point in time, there could be just like loud, screeching, annoying sirens going off, and you would kind of have to, everyone would have to leave and crowd together in tight, dark rooms because it's bomb warnings.
And as you can see, here's the prototype, but that was just the reality since she was there during the Gulf War in 1990 to 1991, as she heard lots of alarms.
Okay, so this was our first sketch of our project. So we did the kaleidoscope, so it's pretty simple. You spin the top, you spin the bottom, and the top is where you see, and then we can put Stars of David on the outside to represent her Jewish heritage.
Okay, so this was our first model of the kaleidoscope. As you can see on the bottom, there are all the colors, and right here is kind of like a ½ an inch thick piece of plastic where we laser cut a Star of David on it. So when you look through, you can see the Star of David on one specific spot.
This was our first precedent. This precedent inspired the concept of it. As you see many designs, this is something called Jewish folk art, which Mrs. Jones introduced to us, and a lot of that is portrayed through paper cutting, but this is another model that we really like that shows designs that can form either an image or an object or device, which we kind of saw in our kaleidoscope that those images could form.
So this was our second precedent. So this is just a super simple kaleidoscope that you can buy in the store.
Okay, so this was kind of the first step of our final product. As you can see, there are 52 laser cut pieces of the Star of David, and on the inside there's a mirror, a triangle mirror reflecting on itself.
So this is just us laser cutting Stars of David. I don't know if this was for the kaleidoscope. I think this was for the first prototype, but this is just showing the part of the process in the iLab.
So this was our diagram of our final product. So you have the viewpoint, and it says it's the Star of David, and it's elongated, so the entire thing is the shape. We cut the bottom from the laser cutter from acrylic. We would turn the end of it with the red end. Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Okay, so this is part of our final product. At the top, it's Madeline, but the M in Madeline is part of the Scorpio logo because that was her horoscope. And on the center, it's the menorah, and then on the bottom is a Hamsa, and that was just like some Jewish paper cutting art that she really liked, and it kind of represents her Judaism.
And then we have some Jewish, we're blessed, and then the word blessed in Hebrew, and then the scorpions representing a Scorpio. That's it looking through the kaleidoscope, and then these are just images of the final product.
Just beautiful.
You did it. Well done. Nice job, gentlemen. Really good. Really good.
Stay up. Just like we did with mid-reviews, there'll be a couple of minutes for just reflections and feedback.
Nice job.
Go check. Ms. Ray, not to put you on the spot, but since you're joining us from Newbie, I'll you start us.
Having spoken to Madeline and showing her your project, what would you, if you had like 2 more weeks to work on this, how would you improve it in the next iteration based on what you heard from her and your experience?
I think we'd want to use a little more technology to maybe incorporate another sense into it, because we like the sight and the touch senses that we used, but we also felt like there was room that we could have maybe done even more, whether with sounds, because we thought that there were a lot of sounds, quotes, or just noises of her life that we could have incorporated into our project, but that's probably what we would have done if we had that time.
Yeah.
Feeding off of that, I just want to add to that, Ms. Ray. What was Madeline's reaction to this? I know that you guys had a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, so I would say that like her first look at this, she was like speechless, and you could see from the person who came in before Madeline, who was working with the Scandinavian Living Center, she thought that Madeline would love it. And the second Madeline got here, I think the first question she asked was like, can I take this home right now? Like once you guys are done? And she was just so proud of it, and it made us so proud to see how happy she was looking at it.
That's great.
Awesome.
I think we should move on to the next group. I'm gonna have Keenan join in.
Nice job, guys.
Good job, guys.
All right, so with that out of the way, we will move to our next group. So I'm just going to randomly go to the projects page. Amir, you guys want to go? Awesome.
Mike?
All right, guys. So we also did Madeline.
Take it away.
All right. So our project's called "A Diamond in the Rough." Don't judge a book by its cover. By me, Amir, and unfortunately, Lazai couldn't make it today.
Yeah. So that's our evocative image. This is a picture of Madeline and meeting with a bunch of soldiers in Israel.
And if you notice closely, she actually has a gas mask around her shoulder, and that will come up later in the project. And she actually showed us this the first time we met her when she told us about her time in Israel. So this is our thesis. Using sound, touch, and sight, our gas mask will fully immerse you into Madeline's time in Israel and how she thought of her time differently than most people would in that situation.
So this is one of our first prototypes. It's a phone that, like, if you go to the museum, you know how you pick up those phones and they tell you, like, some facts and stuff. So this is one of our ideas. You basically hear, like, important phone calls or facts about our life. Yeah, or ocean sounds.
So this is just the prototype for that. So our next prototype was a staircase. One side of the staircase being her pre-divorce and her time in Israel. And it really shows how her life transformed after her divorce. She became really independent. And this is where we kind of got the idea of having two sides to an object. So this is the prototype for that.
Okay, going back to that slide really quick. As Ethan might have mentioned, but like kind of the doorways where her life kind of changed, which would be the divorce, and Israel's on the other side. So like kind of the divorce was what really changed her life. Yeah. So this is our one of our precedents. It's a rock with like kind of a really beautiful jewel on the inside, like a purple color. And the reason why is because on the outside it just looks like kind of an ugly rock, but then on the inside it's like beautiful and shiny.
So after we got the feedback about the staircase, we really wanted to make something that had two sides to it that changed your perception when you looked at each side. So when looking at this rock, you see the really ugly outside, but when you crack it open, you see those beautiful geodes and diamonds. So this is our other precedent. It's what we wanted to incorporate with the sight part of it, and how you wanted to see just this kind of represents a really beautiful and sensory sight.
Yeah, so this is another one of our precedents. Is a gas mask, obviously, because she had to carry a gas mask around, and so naturally we have to have this.
So this is our sensory highlight, kind of explaining what the gas mask meant to her. So the gas mask resembles her time in Israel during the Gulf War. She had to, because of attacks that she didn't know when were going to happen, she had to always wear a gas mask on her shoulder, like you saw in the evocative image. And she really stated at this gas mask as how it represented her time in Israel. And it was something we really wanted to make sure we incorporated in our project and incorporated using the sensory details.
Yeah. So this is our initial sketch. So basically, this is just the gas mask from the outside, and yeah.
So these are our two initial prototypes of the gas mask. And those colors in the eyes represent the visual effect you see when you put it on. And this is our more in-depth sketch of what we wanted the gas mask to look like and we wanted it to resemble. And this is our final project. So this is, as you can see, the gas mask with me on me. And what we were fortunate enough to happen in this project was that we finished pretty early or ahead of time, so we were able to add more sensory details because of that. There's another picture of me on.
Yeah, so after, as Ethan said, after we finished early, we noticed that when you looked through the eyes, you saw like the jewels inside. You weren't actually able. They weren't like sparkling or anything. They were kind of boring. So we had to add lights that it would reflect around the jewels to make it look bright and more appealing.
So this will give you a peek inside the gas mask. So as you can see, like the geode, like the gas mask, like the kaleidoscope, basically the front would be the rock part of the geode. Then when you look inside, that'd be like the purple, the shiny, the positive in her time in Israel. When the front would be how most people would see her actual time in Israel. This is us presenting her with the gas mask. And I wanted to include this picture because it really includes how, both two groups did Madeline, and both of us kind of came together. We collaborated, though we had different products at the end. It was really important that we had two projects.
Nice job, guys. Done.
Can you talk a little bit about Madeline's response to your project specifically when you showed her?
Yeah, so I think the first thing she said was, she goes, "That's my gas mask," kind of immediately reminding her of her time in Israel. And, it automatically brought her back to that sensory perception of her having it on her shoulder. And, I think it really evoked a memory in her head. And also when she put it on, seeing that beautiful sight, hearing the beach sounds in her ears, that really just brought her back to the 90s during her time there in the Gulf War.
Mr. Ames.
Mm-hmm.
You guys uncomfortable when you first started interviewing her in this case?
Not really. We were like really prepared because we had interview workshops before. And so also I think naturally, I think most of us are good at talking to adults and everything, and she was really easy to get to know because she was super open.
I think the most difficult part was knowing how deep we could get with her to see if would she be willing to tell us about her personal life, or would she kind of just tell us the base layer of her time and how she's lived her life. So, and I think the fact that she got really deep and personal with us, that made both my group and Asid's groups and Will's and Max's group, that made both of our projects really really strong.
What were the two most important things you learned about interviewing someone?
I would say you should always let them feel like they should be in the spotlight, and that equally to you asking the questions, you want to make them feel comfortable, and you really want to make it more of a conversation than an interview. So, yeah.
Excellent job.
Nice job, guys.
Anybody want to volunteer to go next?
Do you want me to say hi?
Oh yeah, you should say,
Sandra.
but they can't see you.
Yeah, we can see you actually. So we're now joined not only by Ms. Ray, but Mr. Gray,
Yeah.
who is also at Nuvia. Hey, Keenan.
Oh, yeah. I got my
You're rocking the Fezzy swag
pheasant
too.
sweatshirt.
Yeah, nice. I like the swag.
I don't even have a Fezzy.
I know. We gotta get you one of those.
It's like the only thing I had actually for the cold weather up here.
Perfect. So we're going to move on to our next presentation, and Keenan, feel free to chime in when we get to the feedback portion. Weird noises coming off a 3D printer. All right.
You're all gonna have to do it. Come on.
Anyways.
Get it over with.
Go ahead, Henry. Let's go.
Henry! Yeah, give it up for Henry.
You guys go. Jamin, you do next.
Go right ahead.
All right, our project name is Stories from Smell. So what we did was we made a test tube holder which represents different stages of Margaretta's life in test tubes with scents.
Alright, so this is our interview image, and we interviewed Margareta. She came from Sweden, and when she was 25, she moved to the States, first in New York, and eventually settled in Boston.
So this is our evocative image. All right, this is our evocative image. So why we chose this image is because our project idea is a test tube holder. So Margareta worked in a biolab, and this gave us the idea of using test tube holders with different scents.
Alright, so this is our thesis. By combining Margareta's work experience in the biolab and the various fragrances that had a huge impact on her life, we wanted to create a test tube holder with scents that would elicit her past memories. In addition to the olfactory senses, representation of the smells, a picture of the Stockholm skyline, and a painting of the Swedish flag were added to the test tube holder in order to create a visual experience at the same time. So this is our precedent, which is basically a wooden test tube holder.
And this is our first sketch. So in this sketch, we're deciding what different scents we'll use in the test tube. And this is our first prototype. So we got the test tube holders from Miss Minifee, and as you can see the test tube, we actually scented that with the smell of hand sanitizer. And this is our second prototype. We made the test tube holders out of foam board.
Alright, so this is our second sketch prototype. Because Margareta loved traveling and she used to work in the post office, so we wanted to create a package with different stamps on it that come from like different countries that represent her traveling experience. And this was our prototype. Alright, so this is our third sketch prototype. Because Margareta was really into gymnastics, and she also came from Sweden, so we just wanted to create a gymnastics suit that has like the Swedish patterns and then the colors on it.
And this is our prototype. So after getting a lot of reviews from the different coaches over here, we finally decided to stick with the test tube holder idea because scent is one of the most strongest sensory which can trigger a memory. So this is our first prototype after we got the feedback. So we laser cut the test tube holder with wood, and then so after we got a little more feedback from Miss M, we decided that we'll decorate the test tube holder more to represent more about Margareta.
Alright, so this is all after the May review presentation, and we just wanted to decorate the test tube holder a little bit, and we want to create visual representations of each smell, and this is basically just an orange. And so the picture is not very clear, but this space over here, this is the Stockholm skyline that represents kind of the modern part of Sweden, and this is also a really famous landmark there. And behind the test tube holder we have the trees that represent, because Margareta loved hiking and the smelling of wood, so we decided to put that on as a visual representation of that wood smell.
So this is another idea we got. So behind the decorations, what we decided to do was we decided to put a grass pattern design to show that she liked moving around in forest and in wildlife area. So this is our final prototype after all the decorations. So as you can see, we represented Sweden with the Swedish outline, and she loved cinnamon, so we put a cinnamon cake, and she ate a lot of oranges. So she ate a lot of oranges, so we put oranges there. So all the decorations literally represents the test tube. And this is a gif of me smelling the test tube. And yeah, this is our final prototype. So after we made the final prototype, we had another idea of coloring the Swedish flag behind to represent Sweden more.
Alright, so what's next? So for next time, we want to incorporate those smells into the candles so that the smell wouldn't go away, and we're also trying to create individual candle holders with different designs that represent each scent.
Nice job, guys.
I'll offer any feedback from the New View coaches first.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I like this project. I'm always interested in kind of these smell-based sensory projects that I think there is a really strong ability to design these things for us to remember